everyone, Team 7 here. Today we'll be talking about Ian Stewart's book entitled Nature's Numbers, specifically Chapter 7, The Rhythm of Life. The chapter is about Gaits Analysis, a mathematical biology that grew up on the questions, how do animals move and why do they move like that? The rest is about rhythmic patterns that occur in the entire animal population. It also tackles the natures of oscillation and Hopf bifurcation.
Fun fact, did you know that motion picture was pioneered or was invented because of a bet? The story goes that the railroad tycoon Leland Stanford betted $25,000 that at sometimes a trotting horse was all 4 feet completely off the ground. To settle the issue, a photographer named Edward Muybridge photographed the different face of the gait of the horses by placing a line of cameras with tripwires for the horse to trot past. Stanford, it is said, won his bet. Whatever the truth of the story, we do know that Muybridge went on to pioneer the scientific study of gaits in motion picture.
Hey, it's your boy Cram. Today I will be discussing about oscillation and Hopf's bifurcation. So let's start. Oscillation arises out from a steady state. As conditions change, a system that has a steady state may lose it or begin to wobble periodically. The scenario is called Hopf's Hopf's bifurcation. The idea is to approximate the dynamic of the original system in a particularly simple way. If the simplified system wobbles, so does the original system. Hopf's approach sidesteps the difficulties in tackling the original system, since the mathematical equations or calculations are carried only from the simplified system, and still tells us how the original system behaves. So why is it called Hopf's bifurcation? And who is Hopf? Well, Hopf, or Eberhard Hopf, is a mathematician and astronomer who founded the general mathematical condition named after him, Hopf's bifurcation. So, what is bifurcation? Well, bifurcation, or the division of two parts or two branches, is used as a visual aid on what's happening, in which a periodic oscillation grows. Yes, grows out from, stated that it is like a ripple growing out from the center. An example of the application of Hopf's bifurcation is when we play a clarinet. When we blow air into a clarinet, the reed vibrates. If we were to blow slowly, we were to produce a soft note. If we were to blow harder, we were to produce a louder note. This is important because due to the vibration of the reed, we do not have to puff and puff and puff to every single note. Stated in Hopf's bifurcation, if the simplified system passes Hopf's mathematical tests, then the real system will oscillate by its own accord. Hopf's bifurcation can be seen as a simple type of symmetry breaking. However, I will cut my discussion right here.
What's up guys, Patricia here. So we have here today a watch, but unfortunately it's not working. Kasi why na siya time? So anyway, this is a watch and it normally rotates clockwise. But what happens if it runs counterclockwise? One important point in the rhythm of life is the concept of how symmetries break, not because of space, but of time. As stated in the context in chapter 7, time is a single variable, so mathematically it corresponds to a line or the time axis. Time has two types of line symmetry, time translation and time reflection. Time translation, in simplest explanation, is having to observe a motion of the system given a fixed interval. Then repeating the observation again of the system, and you will come to see exactly the same behavior. It is the hypothesis that the laws of physics are unchanged under such a transformation, and thus the laws of physics are the same throughout history.
Easy. That Pike's not going to take any risks. He's riding him out. The others are...
War Story running on late. Mucho gusto.
Basically, translation disregards the time wherever you are right now, whether you are living in the 21st century or in BC era. Motions of the system will still be exactly the same.
The second blind symmetry is the time reflections, which corresponds to reversing the direction in which time flows. This is a more subtle and philosophically difficult concept. The law of motion is symmetric on the time reversal. If you make any film of any legal physical motion or one that obeys the laws and run the movie backward, what you see is also a legal motion.
For example, is tossing a ball and playing it backwards. Both scenarios are typically the same whether you play it in forward or backward, and it is in accordance to the law of physics. However, some conditions can break time reversal symmetry, especially when under an initial condition. For example, is raindrops falling and then it created a puddle. And suppose we reverse it, and we have puddles spitting raindrops skyward and vanish. Raindrops falling downward is of legal physical motion, but when reversing it by time, it defies the symmetry. You don't usually see droplets going to the sky, right? It also does not conform to the law of gravity, and it is why it's illegal and not time symmetric. After discussing the time symmetries, let's now proceed to the broken time symmetry. This broken pattern is called the all-time translation. A state that is invariant under these symmetries must look exactly the same at all instants of time, not just intervals of one period. That is, it must be a steady state. So when a system whose state is steady begins to oscillate periodically, its time translational symmetries decrease from all translations to only translations by a fixed interval. So for example, a bear was hibernating for several months. It was not moving until it wakes up and started walking. There was change in the motion from the steady state of the bear until it wakes up. And this breaks the symmetry of all time translations. But it still has symmetry, but only for an interval period of time. Like when the bear was sleeping only, or when the bear started walking only. Anyway, all-time translation is theoretical and sounds impossible because all matters change, and the only thing constant in this world is change.
Hey everyone, this is me, Dale Marie Mission, and today I'll be discussing the different movements observed in animals. Speed governs the movement of an animal. From an amble to a gallop, speed increases. The trot, bound, pace, walk, rotary gallop, transverse gallop, and canter are the most common gaits of quadrupeds. But there's also a rarer gait called bronc, and it can be seen sometimes in young deer. Though quadrupeds have just few gaits, an individual animal may exhibit variation of gaits, just like horses. This ability to switch gaits comes from the dynamics of CPG, or the central pattern generator, in which rhythms and the phase relations of animal gaits are determined by relatively simple neural circuits. And finding this neural circuitry in an animal's body is well beyond the capabilities of science. But Hopf bifurcation theory tells us that there is more simple and more natural way, is that symmetry patterns observed in gaits are strongly reminiscent to those found in symmetric networks of oscillators. And mathematics shows that there are precisely two typical oscillation patterns if two identical oscillators are coupled connected. These patterns are commonly observed in bipeds. The first one is the in-phase pattern, in which both oscillators behave identically or the hopping motion. And the second one is the out-of-phase pattern, in which both oscillators also behave identically except for a half-period phase difference or gait that resembles the human walk.
What's up, Team 7? My name is Pam. Now, to make you understand more about Chapter 7, The Rhythm of Life, I will share to you an article about the synchronous flashing of fireflies by Smith Yu. It is stated in this article that huge swarms of fireflies flash in synchrony, and all the fireflies flashing in perfect unison at the rate of about 3 times in 2 seconds. With fireflies on every leaf flashing in synchronism, they are acting in perfect unison with those between. So why do their flashes synchronize? Let's watch this video.
Turn to the park's chief entomologist, Ranger Becky Nichols.
They'll all start at the same time and flash somewhat randomly, and then they'll all go off at the same time.
Fireflies flashing is all about getting a date. It's a mating display, the males flashing to the females, who then respond with a glow of their own.
Indeed, mathematics can lighten up many characteristics of nature that we do not think of as mathematical. It is stated in this chapter that nature's rhythms is linked to symmetry, and its patterns that can be classified in mathematics. Although some of our curiosity in the world may not be answered by the principles of symmetry, at least it gave us a new understanding.